Well, good morning everybody. How y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm gonna lower the Tacoma down a bit. You can see it's up in the air right now, so that we can have a closer look underneath here. I'm looking for rust. I'm looking for part numbers. I'm looking for interesting stuff. What is there that's interesting underneath the Tacoma? You know, I already saw something this morning that I thought was kind of interesting while it was up in the air, and a couple other things. People have asked me about the side steps, what are they? And luckily enough, there is a sticker up there. You can see it kind of white right there. That tells the part number and what they are. So I'm going to verify that and have a look at other things. I'm going to kind of call this video the underside of Tacomas for dummies. More referring to myself. So stay tuned. We're going to have a look. Okay, we're going to kind of start here in the front end and kind of looking underneath. Of course, I removed the chin strap or the air dam, if you guys remember, so it's gone. I did put the bolts back in here just so I don't lose them in case I ever need them for something, an aftermarket something, or I don't know, want to add that back on, I don't know, but it's there. We have the skid plate, still in great shape, as it should be. And then one thing, just to point out over here, I noticed the shocks still have the labeling on them. They're a Toyota part number, you can see there, and they are Hitachi shocks. And let's see, kind of looking for rust in here a little bit. You can see some rust up there on that giganto bolt, which is underneath the upper control arm. Of course, I'm sure they torqued on that a little bit. Well, actually, probably not. They probably didn't have to touch that for the lift. And the tie rods, I believe these are tie rods. Again, this is underneath the Tacoma for dummies like me. But right here is this little dinky tie rod. That's probably going to have to be replaced, I would think, with the bigger tires. Maybe sooner than later. Because you can see it's not very substantial there, but that's okay. Still looks good. Go over here to the other side. Grab my light so we can actually see in here. A little bit of rust down here on some of the, I guess, iron parts. Still a lot of paint and stuff on here. And the springs up there still look pretty darn clean. I don't see any rust or anything on them. Again, the same rusting on the control arm, the upper control arm bolt. And there are the bump stops. If anybody's ever wondering what a bump stop is, there's a bump stop that's supposed to hit if the truck bottoms out. We have a pretty good gap here now, probably, what, about inch and a half, 2 inches, something like that. That's still obviously in good shape, as you would expect. There's the other, looks brand new, and it should be. Now we're gonna kind of go underneath the truck a little bit and take a look at some of the other stuff, including where these side steps came from that several people have asked me about. So let's journey over there. And these are the side steps I'm talking about, of course, right here. And there is a label there, and it does say Tacoma Double Cab Predator Pro. You guys can see right there. You can hopefully see the part number that's on them. So I had kind of guessed a little bit in the past that they were indeed Predator side steps, and they are. And now, for those of you that asked, you can see the part number up there if you're interested in getting those. Let's go ahead and get right under here. Interesting, I saw a note on the drive shaft here. It says system balanced drive shaft, and it says do not replace the shaft without replacing mating shaft. Now, I'm not real familiar with what that means. I don't know if this is the mating shaft in here or something. I'm really not sure myself. I'm sure there are plenty of folks out there who will know. Now under here we have what I believe is the gas tank. This was made in the USA. You guys can see that. So there are some US made parts on here. That's pretty interesting. let's kind of venture our way up to the front a little bit. I'm going to move these little drip pans out of the way, and we'll get up front more towards the transmission and the motor. Continuing on up front here, of course, one thing I'll point out, you guys can see the heat shields that are under here. These things always amaze me how fragile they are, but yet they do the job. I guess it's kind of like the space shuttle, right? It's pretty fragile, but it does the job. All kinds of lines and things run under here. Again, things like this are pretty interesting to me. These, I assume, are the brake lines, but check out how they're formed. What is the purpose of that? Is it to add pressure in the lines? Pretty small little connectors, but everything looks good. And then, of course, all of these little push connectors under here. Again, it always kind of amazed me that that those things hold up, but indeed they must. I'm going to assume this is the gas line. I don't know that for sure, but we're going to assume that's it, and it of course goes on up to the front. Let's continue on. We have a drive shaft here where we're going to enter, I guess, the transmission, I'm sure, which of course is here. And going further up to the front, of course, we're underneath the motor at this point. Kind of taking a look around again. It's funny, like I mentioned, all the little wires and things that are under here. It's amazing, really, that we don't have more problems. I would think road debris and all that kind of stuff impacting all of these connectors and little dinky switches and all that kind of stuff. I mean, for instance, here we have what certainly is some sort of a sensor, or goes up to a sensor, I'm sure, coming off of the exhaust. Pretty interesting there. Not sure of its function, to be honest with you, but looking at the other side of the brakes, you can see the brake pads in there, as well as the rotors and all that good stuff. Again, another rusted bolt down here. Some more rust up in there. Not a ton. There's not a ton of rust, and there shouldn't be. This truck is not that old. Lots of interesting stuff down here. Again, more of these lines. Look how tiny that is. This is my pinky. Look how tiny these lines are. Again, it's just amazing to me that these things hold up. But they do, and it's the same in every vehicle that's out there. So apparently must be pretty successful in its design. Going back over here to the other side, in case you didn't see it before, there is the Predator side step information, and these are made in the USA. So we do indeed have another USA part on the Tacoma. Let's go ahead and go all the way to the rear now and take a look back there. Right, continuing on back to the rear, we have the differential here, of course. Some more stickers and stuff on there. And this is interesting to me, just a little thing. It does actually have the manufacturer date, I assume, on here. 7/13/2018 at 7:32 p.m. Pretty interesting, I think. Some more rusted bolts here. These are just bolts, of course. They're not actual frame parts or anything. The bracket here has started to rust already. This is on my new exhaust that I put on not long ago. Some more rust here on these brackets that I put on. Interestingly, no rust on the bolts here. Of course, these are the bolts that were originally on the truck. Some more heat shielding back through here. My MBRP exhaust. And then looking up through here, you guys can see in between the bed, which is the black tub here, and the cab, or the back of the cab, you can see the vents that I was talking about the other day, maybe, on each side. So there are some air vents, I'm told, there. Another thing I always find interesting is this kind of rubberized or adhesive stuff that they squirt on for all the gaps and stuff, that material actually holds up. It's everywhere down here. You can see here. And it continues on here on the sides. It's everywhere. The truck is not rust proofed, as you can tell. Obviously, you have the metal under here. Fortunately, I do have the composite bed, which let's take a look at. Up here, you guys can see the plastic that runs all the way across up there. That is the composite bed. It is a composite plastic bed. Taking a look at the rear wheels. These are, of course, drum brakes, so you're not going to see any brake pads, if you will. And then the interior of the fender wells, which are plastic. It's funny, in the Civic, they're actually some sort of almost like a plasticized fiber. It's really strange. It kind of reminds me of like a fireproof mat or something. It's very odd, but that's what the Civic has, so a little bit different there. Let's step on outside. Going back to the leaf springs here. Of course, the exhaust and all that good stuff. And then you can see right here, for any of you wondering about the lift, it is a ready lift. It does have blocks underneath the leaf springs to lift it up, one here and one here. And speaking of that, let's go back up to the front and we'll see if I can show you the spacers. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see them. I think you should be able to see them. Well, the truck's really too high, but they're going to be up here at the top above the springs. And that's to give the lift in the front. They should be a 3-inch, and the rear ones, of course, are 2-inch to kind of level the truck out a bit. Let's go. Oh, one other thing I'll mention while I'm over here, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there is some clear protective material around the fenders. Kind of looks a little different in texture, if you will. That's to protect the paint from chips and stuff. Here you can actually see the line. So the Tacoma does have that. It's always a pain when you're trying to wax. Wax always gets on that lip. Always drives me kind of nuts. And then finally back here at the hitch area, or the hitching point, don't see any rust on these, or this rather, and that's kind of interesting. Usually these things rust up like crazy, and it's probably because I haven't put anything in here yet inside the receiver. But if I did, I imagine you'd see a bit of rust here as well, because it would scrape the paint off and it would rust, especially here where you would connect your chains. I imagine there'd be a lot of rust there too if this were indeed used for towing. But I don't really see anything there, and that's good. And lastly, under here, you know, the Tacoma has these little storage bins on the left and right side of the bed, at least the 2018. I think they did away with the one on the big one rather, on the, I think on the driver's side. Actually, it might have been here. I'm not sure, but one side or the other they've done away with. But you can see them right there. There's the drain points on this one. And then we go over here and you can see the bigger one right there with all of its drain points and stuff. So it's no wonder that you can't keep that thing watertight. It's going to get water splashing in from the bottom, as well as leaking around the door on it. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and do a little walk around underneath the Tacoma. I mean, a lot of people I know, of course, if you don't have a lift, you're probably not going to have the opportunity to do this. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see it, point out a few things. Again, I am by no means a mechanical expert, as you can probably tell, but tried to point out a few things that I at least am aware of. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Click that subscribe button if you haven't before. And we'll see you next time on the web. Have a good day.